Ahoy, friends. It's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Dennis and Andy Show. On this, well, it's rainy and crappy out here. I think Graham Nolan jinxed me last night because I said it was nice and sunny and I was going to cut my grass yesterday afternoon, and he was like, "It's been raining up here for days." Whatever. So here we are. We've got such a fantastic guest today. I'm so excited. This guy, when I was growing up and I saw this book come out called Megaton Man as a kid, it was like 1983, 84. I was like, what is this? I love big, over-the-top superhero fun stuff.
And this is a great day as always. It's New Comic Book Wednesday. We both came back from the shop, but this is the special one because it was Free Comic Book Day at the comic shop this weekend. Hopefully a bunch of you went out there and got it. I wound up getting a few today that I didn't even know were out there. So it was a good day to get my comic books. I will be popping some quick flips up. And so just make sure you follow the channel.
Dennis got the one free comic book that he told me for months leading up to Free Comic Book Day. He couldn't wait to get this one. He was so excited it wasn't given away to everybody and he could get a copy of Thundercats Powerpuff Girls. He was so excited for that book. He was so giddy. It was already ready to be slabbed. He's got the information filled out so he can put it in the mail to CBCS. He got 2 copies of it. Man, I've never seen Dennis that excited, except when the Packers possibly win a football game.
Well, all I could say was Andy is, of course, over the top, but he's not wrong. I was happy to get it because I really want to know. When I think of crossovers, odd ones, Star Trek Green Lantern comes to mind. I was like, wonder how that's going to work. Wound up being pretty good. Thundercats Powerpuff Girls. Wow, not something I would have ever put together, but Space Quest came out today too. Space Ghost, Johnny Quest. Another one, I was very excited. He didn't even have an issue left. It's a good thing it was in my poll because sold out before the store even opened. They had so many people added it to their poll list, sold out. So some big books this week, some weird crossovers, but we'll get to look at them later because we don't want to waste too much time.
Well, real quick. Joe Bernardo says, "Aloha, guys. The Thunderbolts was awesome. By the way, they explained that the heroes in New York were shadowed by the Sentry. That's why they weren't there." Oh, I guess I missed that. But I'm glad they did that because that was, you watched our review of the movie. That was my beef, which is, where's other heroes? Well, they were shadowed.
Where's the beef?
Into the void. Guys, before we bring Don on, one last thing. This is for the men watching. Do you own a pair of Crocs, the shoes? 1, if you do. 2, if you don't. I would just like to do an informal straw poll to see how many people watching own a pair of Crocs. And maybe we'll delve into why later. But until then, without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Don Simpson.
Hello. Hey, Andy.
Welcome, Don.
Let me get back to my screen here. Yeah, first of all, I want to dispute the fact that you grew up reading my comics because I grew up reading your comics. I'm only 23 years old. I don't know
you liar. That is such a lie, dude. I don't
know what.
Megaton Man was 80, 84, 83.
December of 84. It actually was the cover date is November. It was delayed. But
okay, so I was 15 when that book came out.
1985, 40 years ago. That was the first year, so it's the 40th anniversary.
Oh, there you go. Nice, dude. I'm serious, man.
I'm still only 23. I don't know why this is so hard to understand.
I know. Math is very difficult. That's why I draw comics for a living. I've got all the original issues I bought then, and then years ago, I think it was probably 20 years ago now, is when we first met, and I was able to get a full run of Bizarre Heroes from you, some Megaton Man one-shots that I didn't have, and then I've got the first collection. I think it was Kitchen Sink that put it out, that collected the first series. You know the one I'm talking about? It's a soft cover. I think
that'd be like 1990.
Okay. Yeah, and I bought that. So yeah, I'm like a completist. I love that stuff. So
well, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled. Hey, one question. It's not comic related, but Dennis and I have this little dispute going on. Do you consider an apple fritter a donut, or is it an apple fritter and it's something all by itself?
I think we have the term apple fritter to designate it
is not a donut
thing.
Correct.
Whoa. It is a type of donut. That's okay, Don. I had hopes for you.
Don't involve me in your internecine battles.
I can't help it. In fact, just because of that snide comment from my friend here, what do you call the meal that you eat around evening time after lunch? There's breakfast, lunch, and what?
What do I call it?
Yeah.
Well, you could call it supper.
Thank you. You absolutely could.
Or dinner.
Well, see, you're always putting words in them. He just asked.
Or a
supper
snack.
Is what we call it.
Depends on how much weight I'm putting on at any given moment.
Okay.
Just be like a little snack, little nibble.
All right. Well, then on the real side, then we'll get into the comic book stuff. When you were growing up, what was it referred to around your house?
That was dinner.
See, dinner.
See, okay. Yep.
Now, where are you guys at? Where are you at? Whether it's rainy, because I'm in outside of Pittsburgh. I'm nearly in West Virginia in the northern Panhandle.
Oh, I know right where you are. We're in Charlotte.
I grew up in Detroit, and in Detroit we called it dinner. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Maryland, and it was always dinner. He grew up in.
I'm in Wisconsin. That's where I grew up, and it was supper. We had supper clubs. We didn't have dinner clubs, so we always went to a supper. We always made it, and we now live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where you both are now?
Yep.
Okay.
When I first saw the word supper, I just thought somebody spelled super wrong.
Yep.
I was
the other big controversy is soda pop.
Yes. Where I grew up, it was Coke. It was just Coke.
Yeah.
For like every brand, it was like, oh, what are you drinking? A Coke, and I could have a Sprite in my hand, but we never called it pop or soda. It was always just Coke.
Okay.
What about you?
Pop.
Yep.
You?
Soda.
Yeah. See?
And then where we grew up, I was a scoutmaster. We got a great story because I was living down in Texas at the time with a bunch of scouts, and it was hot out. And they were like, "Mr. Turner, can we go get something to drink?" I'm like, "Yeah." The bubbler's right inside the building there. And all the kids just stood there and looked at me, and I'm like, "No, I'm giving you permission. Go grab something at the bubbler." And the kids just stood there, and one of the other scoutmasters leaned over and he goes, "You're from Wisconsin, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "The other 49 states call it a water fountain."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, it's a bubbler." Even the bar's name was the bubbler. So we all have our little things. Is it a couch, a sofa, or a Davenport?
Where did you live in Wisconsin?
I grew up in Fond du Lac, so just about an hour north of Milwaukee. Went to college in Oshkosh, and I owned businesses in Sheboygan, Manitowoc, and I worked up in Green Bay, home of the Packers.
Because I, as you No, Kitchen Sink Press was located in Princeton, Wisconsin, which was on the Fox River.
Yep.
They're about 20 minutes west of Ripon.
Oh, I didn't know where they were located.
I don't know if that was like an hour or more from Madison. And I lived there for a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Princeton has a great flea market.
Yes. That was all there was.
Yes.
You had to drive 20 minutes. You had to drive 20 minutes to Ripon to get a Hardee's hamburger. And you had to drive at least 2 hours to get to Civilization. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, we would drive through it. We'd go up to Shawano. That's where one side of the family lived. So we would go through Princeton quite often.
We were near Green Lake. I understand Bill Murray bought property for his parents in Green Lake, and Ripon was well known. Ripon was known as the home of Harrison Ford when he was.
Oh, that's cool.
Those were the local legends. But I only lasted a year. I was there from April of '85. So like the first 3 or 4 issues of Megaton Man had come out, and I moved out to Kitchen Sink Press, and it was a wonderful spring and summer. And then September 1st came, and it was like 3 feet of snow until the next April 1st.
Oh.
And as soon as it thawed, I said, I'm gonna get out of here. So I was there until maybe June or July, and then I went out to California for a few months, and then I ended up back in Western Pennsylvania, where my family, my parents are from originally. But
so you don't get I mean, I know you get snow where you live, but nothing like that then?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Even in Detroit, would get some doozy winters, but Wisconsin, that was a whole different ball game. I mean,
yeah, the lake effect, just the opposite on the west side of Michigan.
when you see a bunch of Ford trucks parked on a middle of a lake.
Oh yeah,
ice fishing.
Lake Winnebago. I mean, that's what I grew up on. Lake Winnebago, Winterfest, between the snowmobiling, the ice fishing, the ice bowling, and stuff like that. They had that big one down in Fond du Lac, and the whole lake. You literally drove out in the middle of it, and they had the vendors and the shop set up and the eateries and everything all on the frozen lake. It was great.
Oh,
and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Andy. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you remember the Comics Buyer's Guide. This might be before your time.
Oh yeah, I remember it. Oh yeah.
They were up in Iola. Iola, Wisconsin, which was maybe 2 or 3 hours north of Princeton. So we went up there, me and Pete Poplaski, the art director. He put together Steve Canyon magazine in those days for Kitchen Sink.
Yeah.
He used to do my covers, coloring, and his brother Bill. We went up, and I can't remember if Dennis was along for that trip, but we went up. Iola had an open house. The Krause Publications, they did coin collecting magazines and stamp collecting and antique, this, that, and the other, and the Comics Buyer's Guide. So Don Thompson and Maggie Thompson lived up there. And this was literally. Downtown was literally a stop sign. It was one stoplight. That was it. Beautiful estate, by the way, and a nice country house and so forth. And we had a good afternoon out there picnicking and stuff. But boy, if you have to be there. The sweet spot is in spring and summer, and then head south.
I mean, I lived in. So I'm from Maryland, but in the early 90s, I moved up to Syracuse for an opportunity up there work-wise. And the only good thing that came out of me living up in Syracuse is that's where I met my wife. Because after a few winters up there, I was like, yeah, we got to go. I can't take this. Because it was the same thing. It would snow in September. It would snow in April. And I'm just like, oh my God, you guys, I can't do this. We bought a house. We got married, bought a house. The house, I still still miss that house. It wasn't huge or anything. It was a modest sized house, but it was on 5 acres, had a nice view of the mountains. But the weather in the winter was just so awful. I was like, forget it. I can't take it. If it was just moderate weather, like where I grew up in Maryland or here in Charlotte, I would have stayed just because of, the 5 acres and all that stuff. But
see, the Iola you would have liked, because they're known for the car show, the Iola car show. So that's where the classic cars come, and it's huge. It's one of the bigger ones, and it overtakes Iola every year.
Oh yeah, no, awful is a subjective term, but if you like snowmobiling and if you like snow up to your waist for 6 or 8 months out of the year, you're good.
Which look, some people do, and I'm the type that likes to see it. I like to experience stuff like that maybe once a year, because I do like that feeling of, oh, it snowed so much that we can't go anywhere for like a week or so, as long as you have everything you need at home. But after that, I'm done. And the thing is, my wife's that way too, but she grew up there her whole life. And that was the other reason we moved, because she didn't ski. We didn't snow. We didn't do any cold weather stuff. So it's like, what? We need to go.
Well, I did several issues of Megaton Man up there. I did probably issues 5 through 10, and the first issue of Border Worlds.
Oh yeah.
And I was starting to turn into Jack Nicholson in The Shining. But other than that, I got a lot of work done. So,
there's not a lot to do. The funny thing is, we were just talking about this yesterday. My daughter, she grew up there with us. Now, it wasn't during the real snow like we had back in the 70s, the real blizzards and stuff like that. But she would be so excited. I love the snow. She just said it again. I love the snow. She literally would get dressed up, get on her snowmobile suit, hats, mittens, arms completely hung out, could barely move them. She was out there. She would run outside to go play. She's in the snow. 5 minutes later, she comes back in. I'm done. It's too cold. Take 20 minutes to take everything off. And I'm like, and yet you love the snow. You kill me.
Well, I have fond memories of Michigan winters. They were kind of in between what we have now. We've had a couple snowstorms while I've lived here, and I've lived here now more than half my life, but nothing as frequent and consistent as Michigan, or certainly not like Wisconsin.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I see you're wearing your Michigan hat, so I did not wear my Badger hat. If I'd known, I probably would have. Now, I'm going to have to ask, are you a Lions fan?
Oh, I'm a Steeler fan.
Okay.
Occasionally. I'm a fair weather fan, but growing up in Detroit was not, we didn't have really great sports teams when I was growing up. I was a baseball fan. I liked the Tigers. My brother was a Red Wing fan, but it wasn't until after I moved out that they started winning a World Series and having some good pitching and stuff like that. But, and the Lions were always in the back of the Central Division behind the Bears and Packers and everybody else.
Yeah,
so wasn't much to be rooting for in the 70s.
You had Barry Sanders, my favorite running back in all of the NFL. So there was that. You just never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So one of the things, since Don, it's the first time you're on the show, we like to ask an origin question in comic books. So how did you wind up getting into the comic book industry? But obviously something drew you into the comic industry. So most of us wound up getting a comic book. We either bought it ourselves or were given it. Do you remember the first comic book you got?
Well, first I just want to say, what took so long, guys? To get me into the show. But the late 60s, I was always drawing since the age of 5. Comics were kicking around. I remember Dr. Seuss books. He was a cartoonist. Strictly Speaking, and other. I remember Peanuts in the newspaper. Batman. I remember Batman on television was airing on network television. Adam West, and it was in the Sunday Funnies. But the first comic books I must have seen, I remember kids at church had. I remember Spider-Man was on the cartoon, Saturday morning cartoons, and I remember some of my friends at church had a Spider-Man comic, and Spider-Man had his arm taped to his chest with a white sling.
Yeah.
I thought that was the strangest thing I'd ever seen for a superhero to have a broken arm. And that was a Ramita, a storyline.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 66, 67, something like that. I remember maybe the first comic book I actually bought myself was a Gold Key, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
The reason I bought it was because they were still 12 cents and everything else had moved up to 15 cents. So this would have been like 71. And the story was about the Seaview gets trapped in a bay and they can't get out of the bay. So they have to go over land. They have to drag it over land. It was a kind of a Fitzcarraldo storyline, which if you're familiar with the Werner Herzog movie Fitzcarraldo, it must have been taken from that same historical incident where he dragged a ferry boat over land.
Yeah.
But that was the storyline in the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. And I can remember like reading the whole thing and folding back the spine, rolling the spine,
Yep.
and everything. I can remember a coverless Not Brand Eck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was number 12. And I didn't know what was on the cover until many years later. It was the Frankenstein cover. It was the last issue, 25 cents. It was a giant size.
Yep.
And it had this lead story was called Comic Lot, which was a reference to Camelot, which was a big show on Broadway. I had no idea what that was.
Sure.
I didn't get it. And I'm looking at all these characters and I barely knew who any of them were. Like there's Thor and Dr. Doom and Spider-Man. And I didn't know who they were supposed to be making fun of, let alone getting the jokes about Broadway.
Right.
But yeah, that was Marie Severin, and
Yep.
she was I think an influence on my style. Of course, she had been in the EC offices with Harvey Kurtzman, so there was this Mad Magazine lineage. I remember Mad Magazine was floating around. There was a boys' club. There was this Christian boys' club, like it's kind of like the Boy Scouts. And we did a newspaper drive, and we gathered up. We went around in a VW van and got all these newspapers, and some of the kids found some Kirby Fantastic Fours, and one was 64, and the other one was somewhere around 70, or it was like a couple of issues.
Yeah,
and they were intact. They had the covers, and they all read them, and then somehow I ended up with them. And so that, like maybe those 4 comics or, a few other things, that was the basis of my collection. And it was probably thrown into a toy box or, something like that. And it wasn't until the summer of 72, during the school year, I would have been 3rd grade. And we had a little cubby corner in our classroom. We had a little reading bookshelf in the little carpeted area.
Yeah.
And one of the teachers in the school brought in a stack of comic books, and they were like they were all from the same month. There were like 6 or a dozen of the same issue. So there were like Jimmy Olsen. There was like the Kirby Jimmy Olsen with Superman in Supertown.
Yes. Yep.
And there was like 6 copies of the same issue of Lois Lane, I think 219. And then some Gold Key and some like Boris Karloff and some Archie comics and different things. And I can only guess that that this teacher had, been in a country store that had forgotten to return their comics one month or something. So he got out this stack. And so all through the school year, we had this stack of comics. And the end of the school year, our teacher said, if you want one of each, take one. So I got one of each of those. And that summer, 72, I started buying comics, and they were 20 cents. I bought nearly every Marvel with a September cover date. And I can remember, Thor, it was like 204 or something like that, Avengers. And the last comic book I bought was Amazing Spider-Man 112. It was the last thing that I didn't have, and I don't know why I didn't care for Spider-Man for some reason.
Oh.
And I had seen the cartoon show, the Saturday morning cartoon show, and so forth. And for some reason, I finally went around and bought the 112. And then like a few days later, 113 came out, and I read those 2 issues, and I was completely hooked. And John Romita was my favorite artist from that point on. Dr. Octopus was the character, the villain, the Gibbon. I guess the Gibbon, it went from the Gibbon to Dr. Octopus. It went into this kind of Godfather underworld story.
Yeah.
Hammerhead appears a couple issues later. It's all very mafioso. Romita was probably Romita's tour de force. That story's been reprinted several times. It was kind of the high point of his career, and it certainly got me hooked. And from that point forward, I was a Marvel head till the mid 70s. I graduated high school in 1980. By then, I was kind of outgrowing superheroes. About 77, 78. I started getting more into Undergrounds and Heavy Metal magazine and so forth, reprints of comic strips and so forth. But all through up through the mid 70s, I was a Marvel fan, and I wanted to make comic books when I grew up.
So after you graduated high school, did you go to college or anything after, or did you just work on your art to try to get published?
Well, I went. This was suburban Detroit. I went downtown to this. It was called the Center for Creative Studies.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's called the College for Creative Studies. And ostensibly, I took an advertising design or visual communications, whatever they called it at the time. It was basically commercial art.
Yeah.
And I did that for a year, and then I dropped out, and I was an undiscovered genius living in Midtown Detroit. I was washing dishes in a restaurant. I worked at an office supply store, the usual odd jobs. And I hung out with Mike Gonzala, who later worked, he's an animator on Ren and Stimpy and early
cool.
Simpsons episodes on the Tracy Ullman Show. And Bill Morrison went to the Center for Creative Studies, although he was older. He was ahead of me, and he actually graduated. And then he went on into advertising and so forth. And then, of course, he, editor of Bongo Comics and so on. But I just kicked around, and I was reading Raw Magazine and Weirdo and Undergrounds and Mobius and French.
Oh no, he froze. Wonder if we're frozen too. Don, you're frozen. Can you hear us? There you go. Wait. Nope, there you are.
I was in the Multimensions there for a minute.
There, I know. I was like, what?
So I mentioned French, arty science fiction, Mobius and Bilal, and things that were being reprinted in heavy metal, and things that I picked up in France on a trip with the school in my senior year. Right after I graduated high school, we went off, and I brought back Milo Manara, and there were Corbin. Corbin in French, Richard Corbin, and Corbin was big in the American heavy metal magazine in the early 80s and so forth. So that's where I was that's where my head was at in the early 80s. And then I broke into comics.
And how did you break in?
I'm not going to tell you that part.
Oh,
so I was roommates with Mike Ghazala. He was totally into humor. Chuck Jones. He was into Chuck Jones animation and humor and Mad Magazine and so forth. And so I was doing this very serious, like Steranko, Neil Adams, Marvel, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, Bern Hogarth, serious, dramatic science fiction and so forth. And so we had this competitive bet, like, it's easy to do straight superheroes, or it's easy to do humor. And so each of us tried to do the other thing. And Mike gave up after like 2 days. I forget this, but I was like trying to do humor and trying to access and channel, because I had read a lot of, Mad Magazine.
Sure.
And Peanuts and Saturday.
Oh, I know. Frozen again. That's okay. It'll come back.
There, I went to the other dimension again.
Must have middle
So Howard the Duck and all kinds of humor, Monty Python and so forth, but I couldn't get anything on paper that made anybody laugh until I drew this beach bum character, this over muscled beach bum character with girls draped all over him, and in the proportion, broad shoulders and large upper torso and so forth, and that actually got a laugh. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm onto something here. And so I gave him a costume. I gave him a red, yellow, and blue costume. I've lost all those sketches, by the way, but they were like, Dr. Martin dies and so forth.
Oh,
I had kind of gauntlet gloves, but the red, yellow, blue, some kind of visor, some kind of like a cyclopean goggles. And I even had the M on the chest, but I wasn't sure what to call him. I was thinking Mighty Man or Man or Mr. Man or something. And we were throwing around names. One of my other roommate, Brian Gable, aspiring filmmaker, he says I came up with Megaton Man. But I thought it was him. But somebody said it out loud, and as soon as I heard Megaton Man, that was the name, because that crystallized. This would have been late 82. You had Reagan in the White House. You had the Cold War with Russia. You had Minuteman missiles. You had nuclear warheads. Dr. Strangelove was playing in all the art film houses, and that just crystallized everything. And it took me a lot of different false starts. I tried to do, first I was trying to do like an alternate weekly kind of, maybe a newspaper strip or something like that, something satirical and political. I tried this format, that format. Finally, I think it would have been early 83, I came up with this Megatropolis quartet, this team that he's tries to join and he gets kicked out and so forth. And it was just a 5-page scene. And then a couple weeks later, I get some more ideas. And it took me it took me all of 83 and into 1984. And I had an issue finally, but it was improvised. I made it up as I went along. I would finish, it'd be up to 12 pages. And then, well, what happens next? Who's going to be the villain and so forth?
Yeah.
And then I started sending it out to different publishers. That's all I'm going to do.
Okay. Do you remember how well the first issue sold back then?
It was, we sold about 19,000. I have an accounting sheet somewhere in my files.
I mean, I have no.
It sold out.
To me, that sounds good.
Right away.
Was that good back then? Like, were you like pleasantly surprised, or because I don't know anything about sales figures for independent stuff back then?
Well, I always understood that, like a book like The Elementals sold about 75,000.
Oh wow!
That would have been an independent superhero.
Yeah.
Justice Machine, also from Kamiko, did about 75,000. So I always felt we could have done a better. I didn't feel like it was, being humor, I thought would minimize the audience, but I always thought we should have sold about 35,000, but we sold half that. And Kitchen Sink was an onion place to be. They reprinted The Spirit, Will Eisner's Spirit. They were doing Steve Canyon Magazine, Milton Caniff. They reprinted several Harvey Kurtzman things. Dennis became the agent of Harvey's original artwork and so forth. I remember him cleaning out Harvey's attic in Connecticut and bringing it back. I was not there, but I remember him bringing back all this carload of little Annie Fanny pages that were Jack Davis had worked on, and even Frazetta. Who else? But all the different Mad artists and so forth. And of course it was an eclectic art house publisher, as well as, kind of an underground origins. So there were the Crumb comics that they had printed in the 70s, and they were reprinting those. And they were, we started by talking about this. They were way out in the country. They were out in the cornfields of Princeton, Wisconsin, literally across the road from a cornfield. It was called Swamp Road. There was actually a little wetland not too far away. You could take a walking trail and go through a little nature preserve and so forth. But it was extremely rural. And Dennis had started in Milwaukee, of course, part of the hippie back to the country movement. He had moved out to the Fox River Valley, and he'd set up he had been an alternative underground newspaper publisher as well. He did the Milwaukee Bugle American, which was a underground hippie newspaper that got firebombed. I found that out recently. I hadn't really realized they had fallen afoul of the police state or something and pissed somebody off. But then they moved out to Princeton, and they had what was it called? The Fox River Patriot was the name of the newspaper. So and the kind of utopian, kind of agrarian, rural, we're going to, all these well-educated, university-educated hippies are going to move out to the country and going to find a Jeffersonian, agrarian, utopian culture out there. And I don't think it went too far with the people who actually farmed. But there they were in downtown Princeton. They were running a newspaper, and later he converted a barn into office space and warehouse space.
Yeah.
And by the mid 80s, he was, they were still doing things like Rand Holmes, Harold Head, Vancouver, Washington. I think he was Rand Holmes was an underground cartoonist. They did Harold Head, Hitler's Cocaine in full color.
Oh, wow.
And you're asking about the direct sales market at the time. Well, the direct sales market at the time did not want.
No, I can imagine.
They did not.
I don't remember seeing that one in my local shop.
They didn't want a full color underground comic book about a bisexual hippie running an airplane down to South America to smuggle Hitler's cocaine in the 80s. So like that was kind of a commercial misfire, you could say.
Yeah, I guess so.
It was a 2-issue series. I lived in the barn. They made a space. They had office space for Pete Poplaski, the art director. He slept on the floor, and he lived in his office. And then they built a little unit next to him, and had a bunk bed. And I worked in the downstairs in the bullpen with Dave Schreiner, my editor. And I would listen to the boombox. I would listen to Peter Gabriel cassette tapes all the time, and I would draw. But I remember I had a little black and white portable television, and I set it up on boxes of Harold Head #2. There were like three boxes stacked. So there were plenty of unsold issues of Harold Head sitting around. And I can remember turning on the TV one day, and it just happened that I turned it on, and the Space Shuttle Challenger had just exploded.
Oh, yeah.
So those were the memories that I have of that and winter.
Oh, wow. Yep. Wow. Well, why don't you share the campaign, and let's go through that and take a look at it and tell everybody what it's all about and stuff. Now, I already backed it because I was like, oh, yeah. And I got to say, when you posted on Facebook some weeks back that Alan Davis piece, I was like, what? Alan Davis drawing Megaton Man and cast. Holy crap. That is awesome.
Can you see? What do you see now?
So for sharing, you need to go to present or invite down below the screen, and then click that. And if you're working with one monitor, you would hit share tab, and then you just click the tab. Right. I get it. Okay, so I've got it. Did you do that?
All right, so this is the cover.
Nice. Love it.
And we were gonna. So the first question was whether we should call it Bizarre Heroes or Megaton Man, and I decided to call it Megaton Man Multimensions featuring Bizarre Heroes.
Sure.
But this is all different creators collaborating, doing their interpretations. So Megaton Man is in the center. Of course, I drew that, and the Cosmic Cue Ball and the Partiers from Mars, but they're all different artists, and they're doing their interpretations of my characters. Here's Bill Morrison.
I love that. That was another one when you posted. I was like, oh my God. I love books like this because of seeing all these artists interpret, a character that is so kind of set in stone. Because, I mean, you're the guy behind Megaton Man. So when people hear it, they envision your drawing of Megaton Man. So seeing these different interpretations.
Very few people have. I mean, a lot of my contemporaries, like Eastman and Laird, and here's the Alan Davis. Eastman and Laird and the Image guys and the Big Bang guys. A lot of cartoonists in my generation have. They've let their characters loose into the wild, and they've had collaborators do them.
Yeah.
You inked a Megaton Man sketch. You just felt like doing it. I've seen people at conventions do sketches. Mm-hmm. Steve Lieber did several.
Oh, that's cool.
drawings of the Bizarre Heroes that I ran in the letters pages back in the day of Bizarre Heroes. But I've gotten to know Alan Davis in recent years, and I just asked him. I said, "Hey, can you do something to make my characters look cool?" And he did this. His first, his Excalibur #1 cover. Yeah. And this is my coloring, and I smother it with some word balloons, but that's all him.
Now, did you get the original art from that?
I am supposed to.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully when he comes back to the States, I'll have it. But we're doing some prints of this too as well. And yeah, he's been very generous. I told him we're both kind of Alan Moore survivors, which is very elite club.
Hey, real quick, we got a super chat from Travis Parrott for $5. Thank you, Travis. He says, Don, how are your guitar playing going? So I guess, how is your guitar playing going? And then he says, also, will there ever be a Megaton Man Bizarre Heroes omnibus?
Do I get a piece of this $5? Wait a minute. Wait.
After YouTube takes their cut, not much.
The other thing we're doing is the complete Megaton Man. I can show you a bit of that. Fantagraphics. We did not time these very well. In other words, we have them both are appearing almost at the same time. So we have Multimensions in full color. We have a volume 1 of the complete Megaton Man universe omnibus, which is coming. But so both are going to be out this summer in answer to your question.
Yeah, well, because the first one you're talking about, that was already crowdfunded on Zoop, wasn't it? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, you're right. That's okay. That was for the hardcover. The soft cover has just been solicited, and you can pre-order that now online.
Oh, okay.
And we're looking at some of the contributors. Amanda Stella Powers doing the Cosmic Cue Ball and the Peeper. These are some deep cuts, some early Megaton Man characters. Joe Ely Corrales and Terry Wood are doing and the original idea was to just have people do their interpretations of my characters. And I started to open it up to team ups and crossovers. So you have the Wonder Kitty, which is Joe Ely Corrales, Improbable Girl and the Wonder Kitty is his IP. He's been publishing. He's up to issue 12, I believe. And cool. We do an actual crossover of his characters and mine. Then I do me and Chris Ecker, Night Watchman. We've been talking about doing a team up for about 14 years. And so we finally went ahead and did it. We got flying monkeys in a kind of Mad Max Thunderdome kind of setting. Jim Rugg.
Oh, I love that. I thought that was fantastic.
He was one of the last people. This was last November. Jared Catherine, Incrediman, with the next Megaton Man. So there are names you've heard of, like Alan Davis.
Sure. Now, how many pages is this book going to be in total?
I'm sorry?
How many pages is this book going to be?
216.
Ooh.
Full color. It's all completely laid out, all turned in, all done. Just we're 87% funded as of last time I checked.
Cool.
So on the left is a fellow named Milo Trent, and he lives in Iran.
Yeah.
He was actually born in British Columbia in Canada. But he lives in Tehran, and he's a fan of American comics, Western comics. And I boasted of him, our international roster, because we got Alan Davis in the UK, we got Canadians, we got Peruvians, we've got South Americans, and we've got this fellow in Iran. And Kickstarter flagged their algorithm flagged Iran, and they weren't going to let us proceed with the project until we yelled at them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I subscribed to the your Substack newsletter, so I remember reading that. Just like, what?
yeah, pretty astounding. But of course, this is being published by Cosmic Line Productions, Eli Schwab. Here's Amanda Powers again doing the Golden Age Megaton Man.
Oh, cool.
But Eli was talking to these people, and I got a little frustrated, and I wrote directly to somebody and started bitching and moaning, and they changed their mind. So anyway, all's well that ends well. No, we just need to fund it. This is
Good.
Bob Ornelas on the right. I found this on the internet a long time ago. This is from, I think, 2016. And some of my filler material, the Mega Babies is from Isaac Fisher. He's from Pittsburgh. He lives down in South America now. He lives in Lima, Peru.
Oh, wow.
And that's actually the other child that's not Megaton Man is his own offspring. So he worked his progeny into the project. John Burkett on the right. This is a Border World story, so I got a little bit of my science fiction epic in here. Very nice. And Misi, you familiar with Christian J. Misi? Misimo, he did Yarn Man.
Yeah.
And these are his characters, the Turboverse, Turbo
that's
Hawk.
cool.
So, a lot of people are, hopefully this will give some exposure to other people's IP as well as my own.
Sure.
Captain Action probably may not need as much exposure because that was a classic action figure from the 60s.
That's right. DC Comics did 5 issues. I got them. They're great.
Oh, they're classic. Gil Kane, Wally Wood.
Oh, yeah.
So I do my take on that.
Oh, that's great.
All of and Dr. Braindead is an old Megaton Man villain who was only in a couple panels. There's a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of callbacks. There's a lot of inside jokes. It's very self-referential.
Cool.
This is Milton Knight Jr. Steve Whistler and Milton Knight are doing, they're calling back to Splitting Image, which was a book I did for Image Comics 30 years ago.
Yep. I got that too.
We got the president, Orson Welles. This is Robert Kroll.
That looks very Mad Magazine. That's cool.
Well, he's Robert Kroll is he's done a lot of research. He's a scholar. He's done a lot of research on Orson Welles, and I thought I knew something about Orson Welles, but he's delved into commercials and radio shows and all the things that Orson Welles was involved in. This is Charlotte, North Carolina. Steve Steglin, your local alternative weekly news cartoonist, did President Bad Guy and Yarn Man and Cosmic Cat. Another Border Worlds crossover with Space, which was an 80s indie comic by Tom Stazer. He did a beautiful job, 4-page story. And
so did these creators contact you? Did you contact them? A mix of both? And then did you specify like, okay, you can do 2 pages or you can do 4? Or did you leave it up to them? How did it all work out?
Well, initially, and this is Trish Ellis from Canada, who did a beautiful illustration. I wrote a kind of a pulp text. Here's Milo again on the left, Casey Bouchard on the right. People originally, Cosmic Line Productions had done something called Big Bang in 2024. It was released January of 24. And that was an interpretation of all the Chris Ecker and Gary Carlson's Big Bang comics characters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the fellows that were putting that together wanted to do Megaton Man and Bizarre Heroes. So that's how that got started. And then the person who was going to edit it left 5 weeks into it.
No.
And and we were wondering, well, who can we get? And I realized I was probably the cheapest and most efficient choice to put this thing together. So I started working with people, and people were already coming to me and asking me advice on storylines and backstories and what would your character say in this panel and that panel and so forth. This story is a new villain. Casey Bouchard asked me to create a kind of a Dr. Doom character, and I made a female version facing off against the Megatropolis Quartet. The Mod Puma is a new character, so that's what we're looking at here.
Nice.
J. Kevin Carrier is big in indie and alternative and small press comics, doing Tyranno Man and Dr. Ugg. But various people would come to me, and it would be through messaging or emails. It's all social media.
Sure.
And, just a few sentences like, well, who would you like me to draw, or what character hasn't been taken yet? Or, some people definitely wanted to do Megaton Man, and other people wanted to do more of the esoteric characters like Tyranno Man here or Dr. Ugg. And we would just go back and forth. This was one of the most unusual interpretations. This is Kate Workman, who does crochet, beautiful, incredible stuff. This is like an 18-inch doll. She does a lot of Doctor Who kind of work, and she caters to a lot of different artists and a lot of different fandoms. And she's the daughter of John Workman, who was
great letterer.
Art director. He was the art director at Heavy Metal, who turned me down a couple of times in the early 80s. Yeah. And he's in here too. Here's Amanda. Again, Amanda Stella Powers. This is our Harry Potter parody. On the left is Kurt Burdick. And if you don't know who Kurt Burdick is, he's just an unqualified genius. He does The Death of Power, which is, I think, 6 or 7 issues now, maybe 8 issues now.
Oh, cool.
But he does a wonderful kind of Michelangelo style and that's the Golden Age Megaton Man. This is our Harry Potter satire. And let's see.
That's great looking. Oh, that's cool.
John McCrae, done some X-Men stuff. These are second shift is Scott Lost, and this just turned out beautifully. These are characters from my X amount of comics, my 1963 annual.
Nice.
Irving the Living Cactus. So again, crossing over IP. Carrie Callan, brilliant story featuring the Slick and all of my Spider-Man based characters.
I was going to say there's oh my God, I'm blanking on the name, but I remember from the first, back the original run. Was it just Brickman?
No, he's Wallman.
Wallman, that's it. Wallman, yeah.
Read the balloon, Andy. It's right there.
Dude, I'm so far from the computer, I can't read it.
Oh, okay.
I'm about 6 feet away, so I can't read.
Well, Alan Moore used to call he called all of these characters roof runners. He called them Ditko roof runners.
Oh yeah.
And last year I picked up the first Ditko Spider-Man issue I ever picked up was number 30, and it had a character called the Cat Burglar or something. And the Slick is basically my version of that, and the Blue Web and so forth. But Carrie Callan, I'm convinced Carrie only agreed to be in the project because Bill Morrison had been his editor at Mad Magazine, so it gave it a certain legitimacy. Here's Jeff Grogan, Daiquiri Jones, his character. We did a big video last night, which dropped. We talked to the Done to Death crowd. This is all the zombie story.
Oh, that's cool. And by the way, Jeff's a good guy. We just I guess it's been a couple years now, but we've had him on a couple times. I like Jeff. He's a good guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of these people I've never met in person. I've only talked to Jeff through messages and emails and so forth. I had very little input on his story. He knew what he wanted to do with the Asp and Dr. Messiah.
That's cool.
And the zombie Megaton Man. This is Craig Olson, Nick Justice, Micah Myers lettering, Markdale coloring. So we talked to Nick and Craig last night and did a whole deep dive into this. And this is Bobby Kirkman, one of the image partners. Alex Mui, he interviewed me. We did a video on this story. He does a thing called Shifter School, and the blue-haired boy there is called Medium. And this was really interesting. I was talking to him, and he noticed that the button, Megaton Man's button, is kind of an upside down smiley face.
Right.
And I think, I didn't know that. And he tied it in. He reads that as like a proto Watchman.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Some kind of like this is a couple of years before the Watchmen came out. So here's Gower Goose. This is Trish Ellis again up in Canada. Amanda, Stella Powers, and Tom Powers. This is Amanda added so much in her coloring. She did a really beautiful job. But Trish is somebody to watch. Here's John Workman on the left. You mentioned he's known for his lettering, and he's known for his female figures. And Grant Lankard, a Pittsburgh guy on the right, tying in, crossing over with the Meddler. I have a character called Cosmic Cat, and Rick Lopez has a character called Cosmic Cat, so we did a team up.
Oh, nice.
Robert Krause, Robert A. Krause, does Shakan the Forever Man. He's one of the hardest working guys I've ever seen. He's at shows, makes more money than a lot of Marvel and DC artists. Wow. He did his Evil Snowman meeting Yarn Man. This is a callback to some of my buddies from the 80s. This is Larry Martyr.
Oh yeah.
Steve Bissett. I pulled these out of my sketchbook that I had at the time, and they had drawn in there. So this is Beanish and the Cosmic.
Travis Parrott for $2 says, who's drawing Bombshell and Yarn Man? A bunch of different people are, Travis. Haven't you been paying attention?
I'm not gonna divulge like for only $2. No, Bombshell. Bombshell's not in here.
Oh, okay.
Lots of people drawing Megaton Man. Here's Michael T. Gilbert.
Yeah.
And the next thing I work on is going to be a crossover, full scale crossover with Mr. Monster.
That's what I was going to ask, because like I say, I get your newsletter. So the Mr. Monster Megaton Man, is that going to be like a standalone one shot at some point?
Yep. Well, I'm third of the way through the artwork. It's going to be. I'm doing 12 pages. Michael's doing 12 pages.
Oh,
depends on we're scheduled. We're slow these days, but eventually we'll get it done. This is the Alliance of Champions, Max Hauser and J.C. Grande. Ted Sikora on the left with his characters. He did a miniseries called Bloom, featuring Regina and Violante. You see him at all the big shows. He does a Palma the Unknown Animal. Hero Tomorrow is his imprint. Here's Milo Trent again with Dan Shaheen. So this some of our boycotted stuff. Ted Sikora did the lettering. And Len Mihailovich and Phil Miller with the Fantastic Fanboys. And this is a story.
Oh. Frozen.
That takes place in his IP or Red Rocket, or they're doing my characters. So we have Bad Guy and Liquid Man and Yarn Man and so forth. Paul Smith on the right.
Yes. I was going to mention that's another one. When I saw you post, I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen Paul Smith's work in forever. And that, I got to be honest, when I first saw it, just scrolling through Facebook, I thought you whipped it out pretty quick. And then I was like, wait, that's Paul Smith. What the?
Well, I found it on the internet, and Paul gave me a nice scan of it, and we colored it. I threw in a building.
Oh, cool.
You can see it's from 2017, so it's a little bit vintage now, but he did such a beautiful job. It's he has kind of a Will Eisner inking style.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So he agreed to let us use it. This is Joe Miller, who was one of my students at some of my workshops in Art Institute of Pittsburgh. He's a 3D artist, and he did this. Looks like it's made of plastic, but it's actually a 3D generated figure, and I superimposed it over my different photographs of different places.
Oh, that's cool.
Chris Yambar, the late Chris Yambar, was a comic book scripter. He was kind of a legend in Youngstown, Ohio. This is he passed away a couple years ago. We got a permission from Maureen Yambar to do a tribute, and George Broderick Jr., Pittsburgh artist who is a collaborator with Chris. He collaborated on several of these characters. But Mr. Beat was this character that became very big in the coffee houses of Ohio and all across the country. And so we're doing a little tribute to Chris. Here's Chris at the end. He's got a couple of
that's nice.
Scholarship funds in Youngstown, so you can contribute to. You can throw that $2 into the Chris Yambar Memorial Scholarship Fund for Youngstown State. On the right is Dr. Braindead again. This kind of wraps up my storyline. I used Dr. Braindead and the Cosmic Cue Ball to kind of tie everything together. We're up to page 149, 150. Some important backstory in my narrative. So this is me, and this is inked by Jason Moore.
Oh, okay.
Michigan inker, and he's done Vampirella and Pilgrims. I always tease him about Pilgrims. Giant Size 63. This is my characters and Steve Bissett's characters from the 1963 project, which I was the letterer on a zillion years ago. And this was on the right is this was a rejected promo poster design that I had come up with in the summer of '84.
Oh, wow.
I remastered. We have a little tribute to Ed Pisker, the late Ed Pisker, Pittsburgh native son, and we all still really miss him.
Yeah.
Some text pages on some of the previous Megaton Man team-ups. Normal Man, Savage Dragon. This is a more recent Savage Dragon. Now, this is going to be published at Treasury size, so it's going to be a little bit larger than comics.
Oh, cool.
The Dragon piece was appeared on the back cover about a year ago on Eric's book, but we're going to obviously blow it up bigger here.
Sure.
This Baltimore Comic-Con, they did a Tick yearbook last year. So that was in that. I'm reusing it. Matt Fazell, Cynical Man. I've known Matt almost as long as anybody in comics. He was nice enough to do half a page. I could have blown that up considerably bigger.
No doubt.
He packed so much in. Aaron McConnell on the bottom left. He does a page a little bit later. Bill McAvoy, a Los Angeles cartoonist. He mostly works, I think he works in the fashion industry. I think he does a lot of design work for apparel companies and so forth. These are some of my Ms. Megaton Man prints that I've done in recent years. Just inexpensive filler materials, some backstory, and some of the other characters in the universe, and some process stuff. Now there's also going to be a PDF of everything that we have of pencils and so forth. But there's going to be a small section in the print edition which shows you some of the preliminary drawings, like Nick Justice, and there's a Chris Ecker up on the top left, Kurt Burdick, Kerry Callan, Jeff Grogan.
Well, you've hit 400 backers since we've been on, so that's good.
Okay, and then there's blah blah blah. There's all kinds of this is the rundown, and I'll tell you, if you ever try a project like this where you get people and you want them to turn in the work, and you're offering peanuts. I stumbled upon this. It worked really well. First of all, you put together a PDF and show everybody where it's at. So like last summer, I would send out a PDF and I would show here's the thumbnail sketches, here's the preliminaries, so and so's inked, so and so's colored, and so then everybody knows where if they're like falling behind, they know that they look bad, compared to the other people. But the other thing was I put together the bios, and so people are like, oh, geez, Alan Davis is going to be in this.
Right.
I better get my stuff together, So that really motivated people. So I didn't have to get after people and get ugly with people about turning in their stuff.
So it's a friendly form of a guilt trip.
Yeah.
It's total peer pressure, total guilt trip, and hey guys, I want this done by Thanksgiving. I want this done by Halloween. Blah blah blah, and it's like they would just turn it in. Here's Casey Bouchard, Yarn Man on the right.
Oh, that's cool.
And we have some house ads. This is actually on the left is Eli Schwab's rendition of Megaton Man. He's published a lot of stuff. He's published Giant Size 63 and Ghost Agents and so forth. And Isaac Fisher's on the right. Rick Lopez is on the right. Here's some of the other imprints that are represented.
Oh, that's cool.
We have a Captain Action. This was one of this Dino Haspiel on the right. I finally convinced him to be a part of it. It's actually been shaded since this PDF. On the left is Ed Cato doing Captain Action and the Rocketeer. That's actually nice. A house ad, but you get a nice look at it in the treasury. So some of my own stuff. And this is the other thing that's going on. You mentioned the complete Megaton Man universe. That's the omnibus from Fantagraphics. That's coming out almost the same time. You can pre-order that on Amazon right now and on the Fantagraphics website and through your
cool.
And so forth. There's a glossary of characters, not just my characters, but all the characters, because one of the things that I hope that this project will do is give exposure to a lot of people, to a lot of smaller press and crossover characters. And last but not least, we have Aaron McConnell again.
That's great.
Doing a 2-page spread, and Casey Bouchard again on the left. This is my cover without any of the dressing, and the back cover, Brian and Brendan Frame. I keep running into them. They did the Three Stooges, and they've done what's it? Al Capone, Vampire Gangster.
So
that's the back cover. So that's the whole thing. That's the whole look at it, and
that's great. That is freaking cool, man! I can't wait to get that. That is freaking cool.
It's all set to go. It is
nice. And what's the For the book itself, what's that going for on the Kickstarter, so people know?
Well, we have a soft cover edition. I think
Oh.
the base price is $35. The hardcover is $55. We're talking Multimensions, and you can get all kind of add-ons. We can get a book plate. You can get a autograph print from Alan Davis.
Oh, nice.
We did a 11 by 17 of his Excalibur composition, Expatriates composition, and lots of other stuff. A lot of the other contributors have packs of comics, so you can get Multimensions. You can get some of Trish Ellis's work. You can get some of Joe Corralis's work, some of Len Mihailovich's work.
Cool.
So they're different bundles, and you can get some original artwork, all kind of stuff.
Oh, you're gonna have fun fulfilling this.
And we've got, and the book itself is just ready to just push a button, send it to the printer.
Oh, nice. What's the ship date on it?
I don't mess around with a lot of your crowdfunders, and this has been the case in the comic book industry since as long as I can remember, is that people put, they've got a cover or a sketch, and then they solicit a book. This is the early Image days. They would just have, hey, I've got a cover. Great. And then I wonder why the book is 2 years late,
Yeah.
But I went out of my way to make sure everything was done. So everything is laid out. Everything is high res files, PDF, InDesign, all set to go. So,
well, awesome. Well, like I said, I backed it. You got some more backers today. Yep. It's getting there.
I backed it. It looks great. It's fantastic. I was looking to see if there was going to be any X Patrols in there because everybody knows I'm an X guy. So
I did love that issue.
It was
no bombshell though. Maybe next time.
There you go.
I have a lot of characters that are deep dives.
Travis, for $10, thank you. Thanks for Andy and Dennis for having Don on your show. I'll be sure to back this project. Very cool.
Yep, guys, it's a great project.
Paul Taylor says, hail panel and chat. Received my copy of Cordra. Thank you. Looking forward to reading it very soon. Paul, let us know what you think after you read it. Can't wait. Glad it got to you.
We know you're not shy. Can't wait to hear.
Yep. Say whatever you want. Dennis has a thick skin, except when I critique him, and then he cries like a little girl. So, but that's
thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. We are something like we were 87%. Where are we at?
I think you're 88 now, maybe. I can't read it.
Yeah, about 88% from funding goal. So you're getting there.
Yeah, we got 5 new backers overall today, so that's good.
2 weeks to go. So yeah,
cool.
we have some stretch goals in mind. We want to do a card set.
Dan Lawless wants to know if you ever teach comics at the College for Creative Studies in Detroit.
I did not, and I don't know if they would have me because I only did a year there and before I dropped out. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Bill Morrison teaches a class there, and I know several people affiliated with the school. If you are in Detroit, right now at the Detroit Historical Society, which is not far from the school, there's an exhibit of Detroit-based cartoonists, and there's a couple.
Oh, that's cool.
A couple wall signs that talk about me and Mike Cazal and Bill Lobes, and
You don't have anything in the exhibit?
Yeah, the curator bought a couple pieces from me, like prints and stuff, and so I think
cool.
I think a couple things. I'd like to get up there to see it. It's about 3.5 hour drive.
Rich says if there's ever a second volume of this type, I want in. Very cool.
Yeah,
you've already got somebody lined up.
Rich is a local guy. He's a fun cartoonist, so that would be cool. Headless Bourgeoisie says, I just pre-ordered the omnibus from Amazon too. Thanks for mentioning that. So there you go.
Yeah, I was hoping that Fantagraphics would have had the first volume out maybe last fall.
Yeah.
And then Multimensions would be spring here that we're in now. But they are such perfectionists. So both things are happening at the same time. So there's the complete omnibus. If you want to, do we have time to take a quick look at that?
Yeah, we got about, I say 10 more minutes, because then my wife might be home and I am parked in the driveway and she will be ringing my phone saying, move your car so I can get in the garage. So yeah, we can do that. Oh, what happened? Oh no, we lost him. Did you boot him?
Nope, didn't touch him.
What did you do?
We know his. We'll see if he pops back on.
Yeah, he's.
I bet he was trying to show something, and
he probably kicked himself.
He probably kicked himself. Well, if he logs back in, it'll pop up, and we'll just bring him.
Yeah, Don, just log back in with that same link that we sent you. Let me just make sure.
It'll just pop back on. That, or his internet finally went real kaputski.
I'm just letting him know to use the link.
Yeah, Rich, we're waiting on we're gonna find out probably in the next day if we're gonna do it this Friday or not. So
we'll let you know, Rich.
We will let
there
you know.
He is. They need to connect first.
Kind of.
Yep, not quite. Almost. He's got to turn his camera and stuff on.
It wasn't me.
It was. Dennis is over here going, what if I press this?
Oh, slowly. There we go.
There we go.
Hit the wrong window.
Edit this out.
That's okay. They blame me, Don. It's fine. I took the arrows for you.
Yep. Dennis is a tech not genius. He should be, though. So, yeah.
So this is just a quick look at some of the early.
Oh, cool.
So, this is the complete Megaton Man, which will be black and white, but it's scanned from high res from the original artwork. So
I was going to ask that because I remember it being in black and white. So I was actually going to ask you. So, okay, cool.
And we're going to have stuff like some of the promotional materials. This was the original pitch cover. And this was actually a short story that I did before I did the first issue of Megaton Man.
Are you going to have the piece? Do you remember the piece you did with Steve Canyon and the Spirit? It was a back cover ad in Megaton Man.
Yes, and I think that's coming up here.
I love that.
Here we
Go. That's it. God,
so yeah, things like that, all kinds of odd rarities and so forth. This is going to be over 600 pages.
Yeah,
and it's all scanned from the original artwork.
Now, is this traditional comic book proportion size, or is it oversized, or what?
This will be slightly oversized. It'll be almost the same dimensions as Multimensions. So it's 8.7 by 13.3.
Ooh, nice.
And you can actually see this is Dennis Kitchen's handwriting on the bottom. These are some of the rejected cover designs or pinup designs. I left the crop marks in so you could see the whole artwork, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And,
oh yeah. So, I'll have to pre-order that for sure.
Come a long way, baby.
That is great. Now I love this stuff. Yeah, guys, go pre-order this too.
So that's the look at that. Stop presenting.
Very cool, man. That is awesome. I am so looking forward to it, and I'm really glad you were able to come on so we could pimp out the campaign and get you some more backers and stuff, because I want this thing to happen as much as you do. So,
and I love the fact it's Treasury Edition size, and that means all that awesome artwork is just that much bigger.
Yep, that's going to be very cool.
Especially at my age, at 23, my eyes are starting to go.
Hey, I just hit 21. I know what you're talking about. So,
all right, Andy. Nice meeting you, Dennis. I will see you guys on the trails.
All right, man. We'll probably you're coming down to Heroes Con, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, we'll see you there.
We'll see you in person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for
You got
having
it,
me.
Don. Thanks, man.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, so there you go, guys. We hope you enjoyed the talk with the great Don Simpson of Megaton Man. Go get it. Go back it. The links are in the description below. And, of course, the mods have been posting. Thank you guys for posting those as well. We really appreciate it. And
we'll be seeing the movie this week is Until Dawn. That'll be our movie tomorrow. But we did just drop before the show. We did watch Havoc, another Tom Hardy, but on Netflix. It was just dropped very recently. So we did watch that, and our review will be on each of our channels.
It's up right now.
That's right.
And, of course, go sign up for Lilith Infernal Conflict. That's right. The next book in the world of Core Draft coming from your buddies, Dennis and Andy. The campaign will be launching soon. It'll be launching in June. And you guys are going to be in for a big treat. We've got some surprises and stuff. So go sign up. The new Lilith minifigure. You can see the main cover by myself and Christopher Lightwood on colors, doing a fantastic job. New characters, great fun story. Get that homage cover from Vampirella #1. So, guys, go sign up for that. The link is in the description below. What's this? What's it say? Andy's about 60 subs away from passing Aaron Lepresti.
Oh,
no way!
Yeah.
Do it!
Do
it!
Got
Do it! I got to have something to rub in his face.
Yeah, you do. Aaron needs that.
And go watch Graybeards starting at 5 o'clock with the great Graham Nolan and a special surprise guest. Whoa. I know who it is, but it's going to cost you a $10 super chat for me to tell you. I'll ruin Aaron's surprise for money because, that's how I am. But
all right, guys,
we're ending it, so I probably won't be able to.
Too late now, but we will catch you next week.
That's right.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
See you guys later. Bye-bye, everybody.